Hello and welcome to my little Hunter deck tech, Cunning Hunter specifically. I will be improvising most of this. I've prepared some stuff, but you know, bear with me. I might ramble a bit. I think we should start talking about some of the key cards. So I'm gonna bring up a list here to remind myself. Let's actually start with the main thing. Why do you even play Hunter? Because a lot of people think that it's a bad leader, and I strongly disagree. I don't know necessarily if he's like top tier, but he's far from bottom tier, in my opinion. And the reason I think that is that his ability is very powerful. It gives you two main things. It allows you to get value, because it's basically like drawing a card. Since generally speaking, you draw two cards and then you have to pick one card to put it as a resource, because for a lot of the game you keep putting resources down. At least in this kind of deck, which is more like a soft control where you keep putting resources for a while. So having that extra card back in your hand is pretty much like drawing a card for one resource, as long as you can use the ability. The other thing that isn't as obvious about this ability is that you can get important units back. So maybe you played Han Solo, which we'll see in the deck list later, and he killed some stuff, and then the opponents defeated him. But then you can actually put him back from your discard pile with Marauder or with Spark of Hope, and then get him back as a resource, and have a second Han Solo in play and get him back into your hand. Like, as long as you have two, so you want in play, you can actually do that, which is extremely powerful in certain cases. So I think we should just start looking at the actual list. I'm gonna use Tabletop Simulator to show this. I have this mod that I've made myself, which I like, but you know, it's just good to show this stuff. So let's start by importing the deck. Actually, I think I'll pause while I sort the cards, so you don't have to see me sort all of these cards. So let's see. Okay, there we go. I put the list up to the right here. I'm not sure if you can read that. Yeah, you can mostly read that, yeah. So you can keep looking at the list as well. It's not in any order, unfortunately. Maybe I should fix that, actually. Yeah, let's fix that. That's more like it. So, let's talk about the choices. Like, one of the important choices is you have to have a fair amount of unique units. One thing I've learned is that, from when I started experimenting with this leader, I put more than necessary, but you do need to have like a fair amount of them. So I like having 11 turn 1 drops to have like with mulligan included. It's like only a 4% chance of missing. That's where I like to be. I think you could possibly remove one if you're feeling a little bit more risky, but yeah. It's reasonable. I chose to play 2 Cloud Riders, just as, you know, it's a decent way of dealing with the fast, like, aggro decks with the units. You know, it works. I'm not sure if it's the best choice. I'm just trying some stuff. A lot of this is actually still experimentation, I should say. Even though I've tried a lot with this leader and built a lot around him, I've only basically recently starting to feel like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I know how to play him and how to work with him. So I'm still at the experimentation stage, even though there's somewhere in between, I'd say. So I do want to deal with like the aggro. That's why I play Greedo, because he can kill a lot of early stuff. Grogu as well can really slow down a lot of decks. He's a little bit of an experimentation thing as well, but the little that I've tried him, he seems to work pretty well. And the R2D2, solid deck choice, solid units. He also synergizes well with the Marauder, which is fantastic. um, so, and yeah, so because if you can discard cards, it's easier to use Marauder to get them back later. Like if you discard a Grogu and you still have a Grogu in hand and he survives that long, or but maybe not the best example, but if you have two of the same, you can get an earlier ramp. That's one of the things that I'm still learning. Even though I play this deck a lot, I'm still like getting into the motions of like, how do I best get use of Marauder? Because when you get Marauder to work, which isn't that uncommon, it's pretty decent chance of doing that. But if you can actually get your brain working in how to do that properly, it's extremely powerful. It's like the only ramp card really that doesn't give you any like loss of tempo really, or very little of it at least. Sometimes, I mean, it's ambush. Sometimes it's even gaining tempo more than other options. Tech is a really important card, so I'm weighing maybe playing 3 in this deck because it also synergizes so well with the Spark of Hope and the Marauder, bringing units back once again, as I mentioned in the intro. I think I did, maybe I didn't. Well, that's one of the big things in this deck. You can get the units back with your hero ability. Actually, we haven't looked at their ability for those that aren't aware of how it works. Let's go back a little and do that. So, action. Exhaust and pay 1 resource. You reveal one of your resources. You pick which one you want to reveal. And with the new change to the rules, you can even change which ones are exhausted and which are ready, as long as you have the same amount still. So if you realize that the one you want to reveal is ready, you can just change that, which is a great choice in my opinion, because you don't have to fiddle with that as much. You can just exhaust things and like, oh right, wait, I want to actually play this exhausted card as a thing, and then like, yeah. And then if it has a name of the same unit as a unit that is in play, then you just show it to your opponent and put it into your hand and replace the resource with the new resource from the top of your deck. On the other side, it does the same thing, except it's on attack and you don't have to pay a resource, to put it simply. So that is like the big point of this deck, why you want to play this. His ability gives so much value if you can play it right. For a lot of the time, and I might go back to it again, I played both versions of R2-D2 and both versions of Millennium Falcon. I don't think you need that. It's not like you don't need, like, you will hit something. You don't need to hit like a bunch of different options to use it. You know, if you have anything, you can just use the ability. You know, there's so many units you can hit the ability with that you don't need to have 6 of the same usually. But we'll see. Like both of the R2-D2s are good. It's just that against aggro, the other one isn't as good, and aggro is a little bit of a hassle for this deck. And the other Millennium Falcon is also good, but it's actually a pretty decent amount of time that I don't play it when I can. Other things that I prefer playing, so I've removed it. Let's go back to the 3 drops though. Well, yeah, exactly. There are no, as you can see in the space, we don't have anything until 3, but then around 3, 4, and 5 we have fantastic options. A little bit of only 2 defenders. That's also something I like. Maybe I want 3. It's good, really good card to slow down your opponent. Right now I'm doing 2 because like there's some nice stuff I want to fit. The text same there. Maybe you want 3 because it's so good. Yeah, I would like to play 3 of that one. So if you have any suggestions, yes, tell me what you think. Echo is another one of those like a little bit of a combo with Marauder, where you can, for example, on turn 3 with 4 resources, play an Echo and have another Echo in hand, discard the Echo in hand to give this Echo 2 experience tokens. So it comes in as a 6/6 with the restore 2 on the 4 research turn, which is fantastic. Yes, it costs you a card. Sure, that's not good, but you know, next turn you play the Marauder, And now you have an Echo in discard and an Echo in play, and then you can just ramp for that discarded card. And like now you have, that's just huge if you can manage that. That's like the best case scenario, of course, but it gives you one more options of doing something like that. We have Echo and R2D2, which I really like. Then let's actually just look at space first, like the cheap ones. Of course, 3 million Falcon, because it's such a fantastic card. Dealing with the Django's, dealing with Sabine. You can also go aggro potentially, depending on what your matchup is. And the same thing with Bright Hope. You can slow down Django and Sabine in space. Sometimes you might want to draw a card with it as well. There's a fair decent amount of cheap units, and you have an extra in hand pretty often. So, or extra in hand. I mean, you recur them with ability. So having access to cheap units later in the game is also something that happens a lot. Though a lot of the times you'll resource them later in the game, but you can also just play them to get another draw with Bright Hope. Marauders, like, I think that might be my favorite card in the game, honestly, or one of them for sure. I just like it so much. Like, it's a 4/5 ambush, and you can ramp with it. It's like, let's talk about the end game stuff later. For events, we have 3 Spark of Hope for ramp, another one for ramp, but it's also, as I've mentioned, but I'll say it again because it's so important, it also lets you get things back for tech or for Hunter's ability, so you can replay like a home one in the towards the end of the game. Like if there's 3 home ones, so if you played one, your opponent managed to kill it, you play another one, then I guess when the first one dies, you Spark of Hope it, and then you play another home one, and you can use Hunter's ability to grab the one from your resources, and you have another home one for later. Like, yeah, it's so crazy. Spark of Hope 2 in main deck is like, right now there's a pretty decent amount of decks which you want that against. Like, it's fantastic against Django, fantastic against all the control decks, of course. It can be useful against other decks, but yeah, that's why I don't play 3. I don't think it's so good against all decks. There's a third one in the sideboard though. 4 waylays. No. What has happened here? Okay, that's not supposed to be 4 waylays. Obviously, something happened in the import, I think. Let's see. It's 2, I believe. Yeah, 2 waylays in main deck, exactly. Yeah, it's a similar thing there. You can deal with annoying units. You know what it does. But especially upgrades, it can be difficult for this deck to deal with upgrades sometimes. So waylay is good for that. If someone plays like Anakin and puts a lightsaber on him, for example, that's no good. And then of course the top end, the important stuff, where we like want to live. So there's how many? 7 drops and 3 8 drops. So like that's why I say this is a soft control, really, kinda. Oh, I forgot to mention the 4 and 5 drops. I just realized. Well, I talked about Echo. We also have Kira, which is also similarly to Spark of Rebellion, can really mess with those decks that really want those special, like triple dark raid or any removal, basically, stuff like that. Key cards also, that can be good. Like, I mean, you know the cards, but yeah, it's really good to deal with those specific threats. Plo Koon is a late edition that I added just in this version. This is a new version all in all, actually. There's been a lot of changes to this. But I played all of these cards in some constellation before, except Plo Koon in this deck. I haven't actually played Plo Koon, but it is really mostly, almost entirely to deal with leaders. Because if your opponent has a powerful leader and you can't deal with it, that can be really bad. This deck can get into trouble if you don't manage to deal with those leaders or other important annoying units. So having hopefully a decent chance of being a 6/6 ambush. That's a big deal. I'm also tempted. All of the ones that are 2, of the units that are 2, especially if they're unique, are very tempting to put a third one in. So Kira, Plurkoon, and Tech. Oh, that's not a unique, but also that one because Sentinel. Also, I didn't mention the hotshot deal for Blaster. That's another fantastic card, basically used as a removal in my opinion. But yeah, you can also contest the board and get that little bit of extra reach to finish a game, of course. So let's look at the end game. I have actually considered playing. Now there are 2 of them because there are some synergy potentials. I would have to tweak the deck a little bit. I mean, all of these 4 cards are Underworld, and so is Kira, for example, and like Cloud Rider and Greedo. So like there is a potential for maybe playing like 1 other or 2 of them or something like that. That's like a little bit of a tech option that people don't expect. I think now there are 2 of them is actually potentially better in this deck because we have a Hunter's ability that lets us have a pretty fair amount of value generations, basically. But for now, I'm only playing. I'm not playing that. Let's put it like that. Oh right, we have more Underworld in Millennium Falcon as well. So like, yeah. Actually, now I forgot about Millennium Falcon. Yeah, maybe it's worth having 1. It's not gonna be a lot of the time that you can do it at all, because a lot of the time you'll have like 2 or 3 units in play when you get it, so you can't even play it. But if you're playing again in certain scenarios, it's gonna be just fantastic. So having that 1 might actually be interesting. I'm not gonna do that now though. Just talking about some potential stuff. And then of course the all-important Ewing reinforcement with this much, with the unit-based deck. Such a fantastic card. Going wide is also important these days with all the control decks. And of course home 1 to finish it off, so to speak. Such a crazy good card. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about the plans against certain specific decks. I'll leave the deck open here so you can ponder that, and I can ponder that as well while I'm talking about that. So like, I think with this deck, aggro has been a big problem. That's why I ended on yellow, because you have the more aggressive responses to those decks, and you have also got some Waylay tech, for example, and Bamboozle, which is in the sideboard, which I might actually want in the main deck, depending on if there's a lot of aggro. But basically, like, you have a little bit of healing with the Echo. You have some like Waylay and stuff like that to disrupt them. And then with the sideboard, there's Bamboozle. Sandari Peacekeeper, of course, fantastic card against those kinds of decks. Another Waylay. Like, basically use those tools to take control of the board, and then like have these huge threats with the help of ramp. That's the hope. I haven't tried this version of the deck against Sabine, but it's worked. It has been previous versions of this deck, which has a similar early game, but a little more different focus for the later games. So like the earlier versions were more of a mid-range with less ramp. But that's the similar early game, and they have worked pretty well. So I'm confident this should be a decent chance at least. Probably still not better than 50-50 or something like that. So against like mid-range tempo, like Django, for example, we have all these very powerful space units, Falcon, Bright Hope, and Marauder. So all of these can deal with a lot of stuff in the space. We also have like Waylay and potentially, Spark of Rebellion is very good against Triple Dark Raid, when you can get that out of their hand to stop them getting that tempo swing. And I think, you know, the little I've tried against Django, you know, because no one in my area plays Django, unfortunately. But it seems to work pretty well. It's also, you know, if you can outlast them, you have you going wide with a U-wing reinforcement makes it hard for them to do the exhausting thing. Other soft control decks is a potential problem. Like tech is gonna be incredibly good in there. That's why against both the soft control and hard control, tech will be incredibly good. So there's the third one in sideboard. Might want it in main, as I've said several times already. Just getting even more value. You already get value from Hunter's ability, getting even more value from tech. Of course, you want to make sure that you the opponent they can't draw too many cards. That is the way you win against those matchups, of course. So we have the ambush from Plo Koon, a little bit of potentially with Cloud Rider against Dr. Pershing at least. Stuff like that. We can potentially use Waylay against Bask to make sure they don't get to draw their cards from... I forget which one is it. The bounty that lets you draw cards. I forget the name. Is it Top Target? I think it's Top Target. So yeah, anyway, that's the strategy against those cards. We also have Change of Heart, of course, which is also very good, like tech against those kinds of decks. When it's like even matches and you like take their big unit and win basically. And of course another Spark of Rebellion in sideboard as well. Against hard control, it's, as I mentioned already, it's extremely important to stop the card draw. If you can stop their card draw and just keep playing threats that they have to deal with, because there's a lot of things they have to deal with, especially if you when you get up to this. It's gonna be pretty hard for them to do that, as long as you can like dodge the mass removal, like blanking on the name now. Super Laser Blast, there we go. But that's what the Spark of Rebellions are for, of course, dealing with that stuff. What else? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tech, again, tech against control is just insane. I have a thought about it, instead of Change of Heart, maybe using... why do I keep forgetting the name? I have to look it up. Choose Sides. There we go. Because, I mean, we wouldn't mind giving away one of these cheap units for like an Avenger or something. That's also something I've considered. I also considered putting Clone in here, actually. That's an interesting tech that I haven't seen anyone doing. I don't think you want more than one, though, because it's too limited. But, for example, or maybe in sideboard, but, for example, against hard control, when, like, you have, let's say you have, I don't know, 2 units in play. Maybe you have, like, I don't know, a tech and an Echo or something. And they play Avenger. You let your Echo die, and then you play... clone their Avenger. They probably don't have anything else, so it comes into play as no, you can't do that on vehicles. Damn. I just realized you can't do that on vehicles. So never mind, clone sucks. It turns out clone sucks. I mean, not necessarily, but it's probably not worth it because I forgot about the vehicle thing. Would have been cool if it could clone vehicles, though. You know, you can always dream. I think I've said everything I want to say. I'm just gonna pause a little bit and think. I'll just finish with speaking a little bit about like the history of my experimentation. I've tried a bunch of different variations of Hunter through set 2 as well, and I do feel that the yellow version is definitely the best one right now. Double green doesn't work, unfortunately. I don't think the blue one is good enough, you know, trying to do control. Maybe you can tweak that to work, because there are good, like Hello There and Perilous Position are good like control cards in blue control these days. But that means you don't play units, which is like Hunter's thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably yellow, because you want these important tools, you know. Greedo, R2D2, Waylay. I'll Sparkle Rebellion more than Waylay, honestly. I mean, if you would, and Falcon, of course. If you would play blue, what would you have access to here? You could do more like of a Jedi theme, maybe, and play. No, never mind. You wouldn't be playing yellow, so you can't play neither two of them. Yeah, I think it's yellow because of the tempo, early tempo, mainly, to deal with the fast decks. I haven't even tried red aggression, but I don't think that would be very good, is my feeling. Someone else had tried it and didn't have any luck, and I didn't really have any more thoughts, give any more thought to it. So yeah, I guess that's it. Have I mentioned all the sideboard cards? Yeah, I think so. Bamboozle against like aggro, and against probably against mid-range decks that use upgrades, I guess, as well. Bamboozle is actually interesting. I have had that in main deck, and I might want to put it back in main deck, because there is one thing that is interesting about it, and it's another way of discarding cards, which means you can activate your Marauder more easily. So you might want Bamboozle in main deck instead of Waylay, for example. It's definitely possible. Yeah, no, I've talked about the other cards, so I'm gonna leave it there. I would love to talk about this. I think this is so much fun. I think this deck is plausible, and I wanna try to get it working. Getting it to be like, bringing it to tournaments and actually seeing it work would be fun. I don't expect necessarily to win, but I think it's possible it could win with the right team trying it enough and polishing it enough. I think it's the ability is that good, and I don't know why people are hating on the ability so much. That's mainly the reason that I'm doing this thing. That I just, when they released Hunter and I saw the ability, I was like, oh, that's cool. That seems pretty good. That's like a really good value generation, was my first thought. And then I heard all the streams like, this looks entirely unusable. Like people putting it in like unusable tier on their tier list and stuff. Like, what are you doing? That's the main reason. And then I opened a booster. Well, I mean, opened boxes. I didn't open one booster, but I was lucky and got a Hunter showcase. Oh, I didn't bring my Hunter showcase to the table. You know, I'll just go fetch it real quick. And there he is. Let's see if I can get a good shot of it. If the camera wants to focus. There we go. I think it looks beautiful, and the foiling is gorgeous as well. I mean, the other side isn't that much different, but here it is. I love it. I mean, once I got that, you know, I had to play it. You know, not that I think he's necessarily the best leader in the game, as I've said, but I think he's definitely worth playing. And it's mostly, I should say, I haven't even mentioned that. I think it's really fun if you like having this like kind of fiddling around and trying to, like the puzzle, like getting the right units to get back into your hand, and like the options you get, and then like there's a decent amount of smuggle, because you have tech and you have the deal for blaster. I have had more smuggle earlier. I just realized I don't have anything more than that right now, but with tech, you know, you can get anything smuggled. And then with the puzzle of the Marauder and of the Sparkle Hope and stuff like that, so much fun. It's been a lot of fun to play it and try to get it to work. So I'm looking forward to trying this version more and polishing it even more. If you want to talk about this, you can find me. You can find me in several places, like in Nordic Takedown Discord. I'm also on both the Swedish. What's it called? Where is it? There, Star Wars Unlimited Sweden. That's the one, as well as just the. I mean, I'm not very active on the global one. You can also find me in KDOD. I'm not that active there. I'm mostly actually right now. Most active in the Nordic Takedown. I like the little community we have around that podcast, or on the local gaming store, Röda Goblinen. Their Discord. I'm actually more active there on the Star Wars Unlimited forum, or what do you call it? I would or in the comments of the video, I want to talk about this deck. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear you talk about why my deck sucks. What am I doing wrong? Like, what am I missing? What do you think I should definitely put in the deck? What should I definitely remove from the deck? Like, why should I be playing aggression? Why should I be playing vigilance? Why should I be playing double command? Like, I want to hear your ideas. I'm definitely open to changing this entirely. I'm not locked in on yellow, but I currently feel like it's yellow that's the best match for Hunter. But I'm also sure there are cards that I just haven't considered. So, like, give me your favorite recommendations for, like, what would fit in this deck that I'm just overlooking. And you can do that here in the comments here on YouTube, or you can go to, I think the Nordic Takedown is the best, or you can at me. I am Facet, I don't know. I'll put it on. Can I put a text up here? Let's see. That. Here we go. Faucet in Swedish. I don't know. Facets. You'll find me on Discord under this. So if you're not on Nordic Takedown, you can at me on the global Star Wars Unlimited community, or if you're in Sweden or you're on the Star Wars Unlimited Sweden, you can at me there as well, or just send me a direct message. If I don't think it's a spam message, I probably will accept it and chat that way as well. So, looking forward to having these discussions. Maybe I'll do more of these if people are interested in this. I've made some videos, but I've gotten like no views, but whatever. I think it's fun to do this stuff anyway. So I guess I'll probably do more of these. See you around.